Okay, so in this test, we're going to determine the neutral position for our DC machine. So one of the tests we can do is we can do a test using AC voltage. So right now what I have connected is I'm using a single phase voltage, so line to neutral, variable voltage, and I'm connecting to the armature. So the AC voltage is directly across the armature. So essentially we're going to be inducing a voltage from the armature into the shunt field. I hooked up a voltmeter and I'm going to measure the voltage across the shunt field. So the idea here is we're trying to find this neutral position. So in order to do this test, I need to uncouple the DC machine from the prime mover. So I'm going to drop down my front panels, remove the belt, and I'm just going to set the belt inside the machine here. Put the cover back up. And what we want to do is we want to move this lever here and slide your DC machine forward about 4 to 6 inches. Just carefully don't come too far so it doesn't tip out. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to access brushes. So I can see here the brush holder, this yoke. So we're going to be moving these brushes, and I can see that we have this red dot here. This indicates where the manufacturer has labeled where the neutral position is. So every time you do an experiment with the DC machine, before you start, check and make sure that this lever is in line with the red dot. Okay, so I'm going to push this back in slightly, and now we can go ahead and do our test. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure we're on the AC volts with our meter, and I'm going to make sure the control knob is down to 0. Turn on my power supply voltage. The lab experiment tells us the first thing how we should start off is turn the brushes all the way to the right. So we can see this here. If I move the brushes all the way to the right, so I guess that is clockwise, slowly increase the voltage until we get 80 volts measured on the shunt field. So there's 80 volts. Now what we want to do is we want to move the brushes. So move the brushes. We simply can take the lever and slowly start moving it and watch the voltage. I can see here as I'm moving this, right? So I'm moving it right now. The voltage is actually decreasing. We want to find the place where this voltage, induced voltage, is 0. It's a little tricky sometimes because of the brushes, if you know the tension and whatnot on the brushes. But if I slowly do this, I can see a point where I'll cross 0, and I could actually turn the brushes all the way to the left, and I'll see 80 volts in the other direction. I'm going to move the lever back because we want to get to 0. So I'm close to the red dot. So I want to find here where this 0 volts is. Get as close as possible to 0. This might be the best that I can do right now. Essentially, if you can get it below 1.5 to 2 volts, that's probably a good indication of where the neutral position is. And then if I look back up on the machine, I can see that it's pretty close to lined up with the red dot that the manufacturer put on the top of the machine.